coming from a Latin American background, no degree means no future.
Right.
Whereas I dreamt of being able to buy my own house. I dreamt of being able to get married in a fairy tale castle. Did all of that.
Hi, and welcome to A Class of Their Own podcast, revealing the human stories behind their name. We will hear honest and intimate reflections from our guests who, despite their circumstances, shape a world that reflects their unique visions of success. Join me, Mira Magecha, to learn from these inspirational people and take the first step to make your own change. On today's episode, we're joined by Cat Moraga. Hi, Cat.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. Very happy to be here.
So I was introduced to you a while ago, and you told me your story. And one of the first things I did was cry. So let's see if I can hold it together through the conversation. So we have a tradition on the podcast, which is we start with who is Cat. So I'd love to start with who is Cat.
So the Cat today is answering the question quite differently than the one maybe a year ago. I'm going to say dreamer. I'm a dreamer. I'm a creative. I'm a connector, whether it's dots or people. And I'm a storyteller, which you already found out.
I did, because I was in tears.
Yes.
And if you were going to just meet someone for the first time, how would you introduce yourself?
I would say I'm a Cat. I have more than 18 years experience in the advertising and tech field. I am a Chilean, born and raised in Amsterdam. And I'm a fixer. I'm the one that gets things done. It's a completely different answer.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
And that's what's really surprising when I have these conversations, that they're just different and varied in terms of how you portray yourself to the outside world versus what you say about yourself when you're having that conversation.
Yeah.
So tell me about growing up Chilean in Amsterdam.
Yeah. Well, basically at home it was Chile. We ate just as people do in Chile. So warm meals during midday and warm meals in the evening as well. A lot of family, laughter, togetherness, warmth. But to start with, Spanish. I learned to speak Spanish first, and then English through, Disney movies, BBC actually as well. And I was taught to speak Dutch in school. So I wasn't able to communicate with Dutch kids or people when I was young. But the good thing is that I didn't care. I didn't see it as a problem. I wasn't different. I was just me, and this was the way I was raised, and I would speak to everyone. I'm a very social person, and I love to connect to people. So I would speak to them in Spanish and have all these conversations with them, and they would nod and go like, I don't understand you, but hey, let's make something out of this.
And did you do the same and reciprocate that back to them as well in terms of?
I never saw that as a problem. And I always loved to draw as well. So I would then, and always had my little notebook in my bag and with all these different colors and things. And I would then start drawing and then explaining and, telling these stories already from the very beginning. And it wasn't a problem. I didn't see that as, in retrospect, yes, we were different, very different, but I didn't see that. It was just a given.
And what age was this?
3, 4, yeah.
And you were born in Amsterdam?
Born and raised, yes.
Born and raised.
Yeah.
And so what brought your family to the Netherlands?
Yes. I'm a daughter of refugees. My mother was 14 years old when she came to the Netherlands. And this is skipping a lot because when she was 11, she had to flee Chile because of the dictatorship. She was one of 5 children, mom and dad, so 7, 1 suitcase. And they left in a heartbeat overnight. And they hopped on a bus and said goodbye to no one. Even my great-grandmother didn't know that they that they left or where they had gone. Then they took the bus to Mendoza, which is right from Santiago of Chile. Then to take the bus, you go through the mountains to the Andes, and you get to Mendoza. And that's where they sought refuge first. Turned out wasn't safe either. And then they had to flee to Buenos Aires. And this whole ordeal was about 4 years. And that's when they got, well, actually not, they didn't get, my grandmother sought help. She didn't speak a word English, but there were many people, organizations helping out, and you really needed to go and find, the right people to talk to. And this was someone from Amnesty International. She was called Diana. So I almost was named Diana. But no, she actually helped my grandmother to flee the country along with her husband and 5 children.
So that was your mum's story. What about your dad?
Yeah, so my dad's journey is more about choices.
Okay.
He was raised in a family that was very much pro Pinochet. And he chose not to. He wanted something more than that. He wanted something different. He didn't agree. And the only way out, because he wasn't wealthy or anything, but the only way out there was either you go into the military organization or you become a student. He's always been one of the smartest people I've known, and his brain is magnificent. So he went and applied to study at university. He got in, and I think that his story starts in Sao Paulo, where he also had some family, and so he was able to go there and leave the country.
Okay.
Without having that feeling of shame, but still the truth was there for him as well. And he then went to different countries, actually, because somehow it didn't fit him completely.
Mm-hmm.
He tried different studies as well, and he sees that as sort of a failure. But in reality, I've told him this as well. You've done architecture, archaeology, history, literature, film studies. You didn't finish them, but you enrolled. You were able to
get through
and do this.
Yeah.
Who else can do that? He speaks 7 languages.
Wow.
Because simply he traveled to different universities and then cities with the universities, and then so Italian, French, English.
Amazing.
And Portuguese as well, because he started in Sao Paulo, and then he ended up in Amsterdam to study at the University of Amsterdam. And at a bar, he met this young woman, which was my mom. So usually when people ask me, "You were born and raised in Amsterdam?" Yes. And then it goes, "Okay, so your mom and dad are, wait, did they get married there?" "Nope, they met in Amsterdam." "What?"
Yeah.
And then I
explain the story.
I usually tell this story because it's such how do you meet like that? Well, they did.
Incredible. Yeah. Growing up in Amsterdam, there was 2 of you, so you've got a sibling, I believe.
Yeah.
What was it like with the culture of Chilean household and then school being very Dutch, friends communicating? And you said that you still tried, you were drawing, you were creative. But what did that feel like? What was it like?
To answer that one, I have to tell you a bit more about the family situation. So for me, I really grew up with my cousins. They were always, at our place as well. And I consider them my brothers. And they were older than me. And I really wanted to be just like them. Because, and not saying men, no, I mean, they already were going to school. They got to go on to school outings, and they knew how to perfectly read and write. And I wanted to be able to do that too, because there was power in that. There was magic in that. And again, I didn't see the whole male versus female thing or that they were, because my cousins are half Dutch, so they're whiter, and they actually would, you would say they're Dutch if you look at them, if you don't know. Again, not seeing differences there. And then going to school, I started noticing that there were many differences. Partially as well because my parents, they came to the Netherlands when they were like in their 20s and studying. They already encountered many situations where racism was a thing, or when they weren't treated fairly compared to others. The thing there was is that my parents, because usually when people say, oh, Chileans, they are darker skinned. No, they're not. They're actually usually pretty white.
Yeah.
Look at me.
Pretty fair.
I look like my grandma. And we have native Chilean blood running through our veins. And that's, well, very visible with me. But when I was born with the skin. So my parents immediately looked at each other and went, we need to do something here. Moment I went to school, they put me on a very expensive private school. And that meant that the difference was definitely seen and was definitely felt and was definitely there.
Right.
So that was, I think, the first moment that I started seeing that I didn't fit in. And why I mentioned my cousins is because I had this beautiful connection with them that wasn't about you being whiter than I am or you being a guy and I'm a girl. It's about, no, we have a connection. You're different to me, but that still together made us feel as one and stronger. And at school, I was left out. I wasn't included. I was the weird one. I was the one that, and then you could also think, maybe because she didn't speak the language. No, I'm a fast learner. And I always had those, as a kid, you're a sponge.
Yeah.
I think I started speaking and writing Dutch already within a few months. So it wasn't that. I was treated differently and not invited home with other people. And then you would see these groups forming.
And what age was this? Because you talked earlier about 3 and 4 and being creative with your storytelling, etc. So at what age did you start noticing the difference?
4 and 5.
So rapidly?
Yeah.
Within a couple of years?
Yes. And then the storytelling part was, I tried that. But then the thing was, and here it comes, right? So I could speak English. I could speak Spanish.
Yeah.
And then Dutch came right after. Guess I looked like my dad, or have part of his brain, because 3 languages at the age of 4. They didn't like that. Now, looking back, they didn't like that. As a kid, you don't know, you don't understand. But I tried the storytelling, I tried the drawing, I tried the let's play together, and honestly, give me a flower and I can invent this whole fairy tale around it, right? So on the playground, I tried. No.
So what did you do?
At a certain point, I invested in myself. I chose myself. So I wanted to learn more. I wanted to understand more. But the teachers also treated me in a different way. They felt I needed work or I was a problem because I was different and I was all that extra in my own way. Like I was the kid that asked counter questions. I was the kid that if we would talk about certain things, and I'm still talking about age 5, 6 then, but we're learning about new things and I will read more. I will look things up. Library, internet didn't exist, but that was the thing that my parents also encouraged, because
the curiosity.
Yes, and the creativity that was part of me. And my mom had to go to school with a dictionary next to her to learn the language while learning the context and the theory and being able to pass her tests. So she taught me that, and I wanted to learn more. Maybe that would help me get more friends. It didn't. I was the weird one, the one that knew better or wanted to know better or things like that. And I wasn't the cool kid at all. And so I hung out with my cousins even more. And that's why I say they're brothers to me, because when I felt alone, they were there. But even today, if I'm zoning out, I'm, walking around, I love to stroll around. I sometimes catch myself counting tiles because that's what I did during recess.
So how does Kat move through school?
Kat tries to fit in at a certain point.
Okay. What does that look like? Because fitting in means you've got to potentially lose parts of yourself?
Yes. So I started being less extra and quieter, maybe. Not getting the same grades. Trying to be the cool kid. Yeah, hanging out with the wrong people. And I'm skipping a bit ahead here, but that made me get friends, the wrong friends. But yeah.
And when you say the wrong friends, what does that mean? And what path did you then navigate down? Because I feel there's a story here.
Well, I'm a straight A student, and that just has to do with the way that my brain is set up, and I am a quick learner. And then to go from straight A's to a 0 or not even a 1, because I felt, cool enough to not write my name. Okay. And it's a pretty long name. My parents didn't know what was going on. And the thing there was that in between feeling so alone, because even trying to explain at home what was going on, my parents would say, no, and you're a prodigy, and you have to do better than we did. And after everything that we've gone through, and we are giving you everything. And imagine, because my dad, he worked like crazy to be able to provide for us. My mom too, by the way. So it's really both of them putting everything on the table for us to be able to go to these expensive schools.
It was a sacrifice that they made in order for you to do that. It wasn't
definitely
that. So that was a conscious choice of them sending you to private school.
It was. And then to have that, but as a kid, you don't see that. You don't understand. Yeah. You just want to feel accepted and part of, all these groups that you see around you. And no, it was quite a difficult period of time. Even I wish to be able to change my name, to be able to have a normal name. I remember at a certain point even thinking, this is too hard for me. What if I just opt out?
What was happening at school at this time?
So this is probably around junior year, high school. Mm-hmm. Started getting some curves, things like that. Attention from boys, which I also didn't understand, by the way, because I had that voice of the wanted to be accepted, but also not seeing my own worth. Because if I would lower my own expectations of what perfection would be, then I got seen. So I should be that version. But it took me way more energy to create that version, to be this person that I wasn't.
Because you were spending time and energy creating the fake persona.
Yes.
And being something that you weren't, hiding your real personality, your real extra, as you called it.
Yes.
And that takes a lot more to water it down.
And she was liked by the wrong people, by the ones that did drugs and that went out and drank and lied and did all kinds of stuff. And I didn't, by the way. So that's also something I was super proud of, that I somehow still kept my own values.
Yeah.
So I was able to fit in, but I was observing the situation. I would hang out with them and not do the things because they just didn't fit me. Somehow I just felt, no, it's not for me.
So the integrity was still semi there, even though you were on this path.
Yeah.
But maybe that was just a path of self-discovery.
I think so, in a way.
What you liked and what didn't work for you and who you really were.
Yeah, I think so. No, and even in that period of time, I think that's when I realized doing all that. And to paint the picture of my dad, he still would bring me, and this is Amsterdam, right? So we live on bikes.
Yep.
But then still going to quite expensive schools, all these kids would have dads with a minimum of 3 cars. This is just normal. And then my dad would bring me to school on his bike, and not me next to him biking. No, on the back seat of the bike and just grabbing my dad. And that's how he would bring me to school. And I remember the kids looking, and that wasn't a feeling of shame for me. That was a feeling of pride, because my dad brings me to school. Yours doesn't. Yours doesn't have the time, make the time to do that. I'm thinking that my dad, back then, he worked in, like, as a manager of restaurants. So he was really like waiting tables and things like that, working all hours, long hours, in the evenings and at night. And during the day, he was our dad. He did that from primary school to high school, and beginning with, setting the alarm very early to setting up our lunch boxes and laying out our dresses and things like that, because mom was already working at that time. And he would do that for the both of us, then waking up my sister first because she was always very grumpy and I was the one that was awake. And there was this whole routine in the morning. He would have had his own breakfast already to then be able to cater for us, give us the lunch boxes, bring us to school and such, and all these things. So this is primary school, and every day. And after that, he would, pick us up again, have like a little sandwich ready, and ask us about our day, help us with the homework, prepare us for the evening as well. And then he would go to work. Mom would come back from work and so on. This was the routine every day. That was the sacrifice. And then fast forward to this kid going all AWOL. And he still would be there every day.
Yeah.
Every day. And then bring me to school and things. And it was that whole feeling of the safety net that I needed to sort of disconnect in a way to find myself.
And so how did you, for a better term, snap out of it? What was that moment?
Things went south at a certain point. I got in a certain unsafe situation with this group of friends. It just wasn't a good experience for me at all. And I wanted to get out of there. And the moment it happened, and in that moment, they all sort of protected themselves, and I stood there alone. I remember feeling, no, I am the only one I can trust. I'm the only one that will be there for me.
So you sacrificed yourself to get into this
back to being alone. Yeah.
And then came out the other side of being alone anyway.
Yeah. And then to come home to my mom and dad, who still were, we had fights and everything, but at that moment, you're still, you're parents, so your kid is there. It's clear that she's there to sort of surrender to the situation, and then say, no, I want something more. I need something different again. Yeah.
And so this is now towards the end of school.
Yeah.
What's the journey to now?
So then I thought, I wasted a bunch of time.
Is that what you thought? Is that the word you used at that point? Wasted?
No, at that point, there was a lot of shame. So it was a bit of both. First, the anger, the shame, I know what my brain is capable of, and to have felt that I've let it spiral to that point. I just I wasn't okay with that, and I wasn't allowing myself to go there again. Still in life, it did happen again, maybe twice or 3 times, but I do believe it's all part of the lessons and the things that brought me to today. No, it was mainly the shame into having. I needed to make up for it in a way, because I had to do better. Always in the back of my mind, my mom and dad come from Chile. They come from poverty. They come from, having to risk their lives for a better life for us. Then the sacrifice of, putting your children through better schools and allowing them to have what they need and things like that. And it was really a thing of need to do better.
Would you say that was a moment of guilt?
Yes.
Okay. And so that took you from where you were to where?
To start running. To start running towards doing better.
Yeah.
Doing more. And to tell you the truth, I haven't stopped running until last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
What were you running to?
To a better life, to proving that I could do it, to proving that my brain was magnificent, just like my dad's and my mom's. And to proving that I was worth all the sacrifice they made. So a colleague of mine mentioned a few months ago that when there's trauma, it actually leaves a biological trace.
Mm-hmm.
It takes up to 5 or 6 generations for that to really be healed. And without knowing, and I know it now, 6 years of therapy will help you there and get there. But the whole fight or flight, I'm a daughter of refugees. You have to keep going. You have to do better. You have to get to safety. That was sort of built into my core without me knowing. And even something simple as going through a bit of a, rebellious period, which most kids do. For me, that meant, oh my God, I need to go to that other extreme. And I started, studying, working hard. I actually got scouted. And at that point, this is a pivotal moment in my life where I'm scouted to be able to work at an advertising agency. I'm 17 years old. 17.
Right.
You have the rest of your life in front of you. And again, this is a person I was babysitting at the time. It's the dad that says, "Hey, I'm working at the at that point best ad agency in the Netherlands. I see what you can do," because I was always drawing with his daughter, and I see what you can do. I want you to meet my creative director, and I'm like, okay, cool. He said, I can only get you the meat. I cannot get you, so the rest you have to do yourself. I'm like, yeah, I can do that. Of course I can. That's the whole, the persona part again. And then, sure, 17 years old, put on my, bought any suit at H&M I could afford at that point, and heels and everything. I've got good genes. I look 12, and still I had to sit in front of this big shot creative director, Don Draper type guy, but then Italian.
Yeah.
Impressive guy. And he looks at me toe to top, and he was like,
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
I said, why are we meeting? Like one of the first questions. I'm like, yeah, because the dad of the, get yourself together. Okay, so you're here to get coffee. And then I said, and something switched. I said, sorry, no. That's the little kid again. No, I'm here to work. So if this is a coffee type thing, I'm gone. 17. And he said, okay, let me show you around. And then he again stopped at the coffee, and this is where you'll be. And he joked, and he sort of went like this. I said, no, I'm serious. If you're going to continue like this, then this is a waste of both of our times. And okay. And then he said, there's one of the creative directors I would like to connect you to, and let's see if that works. But you have to show us what you can do, because what are we going to do here? And then I said, sure, just show me. And there was this drawing board. And back then I'd never seen that before in my life. I was used to drawing on paper or canvases, but no. And I said, sure, give me the pen, digital pen, no idea. Tap, tap, sort of saw the line appear and the dots and the line appear on the screen. I could do this. Okay. And I started drawing, doing what I did every day. And they looked at each other and they said, when can you start?
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And were you looking for a job at the time?
No. I wasn't. I wanted to do something in advertising because everyone was saying Kat needs to be an artist. There's no money in that. I cannot do better with that.
And that was a driver.
So I needed to do something in advertising. And when universe did what it did, The dad of the girl I was babysitting was working at that ad agency. I had to go. That was this gut feeling in me that you have to go and you have to listen to that. At least give it a chance. And that's why I think, looking back, when he said, "Are you here to grab coffee?" No. First of all, I've wasted time already. I feel the guilt. I need to do better. And somehow I thought, let's give it a chance. I mean, what could go wrong? The no is a given. We can get the yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you don't give it a go, there is no yes, because you didn't give yourself a shot to move forward.
Yeah. And so I started working full time as a 17-year-old in a very crazy environment. Still didn't do drugs, didn't do all the things. Proud of that till today. But I did take all the experiences in. I learned so much so fast.
Yeah.
And besides that, I was trying to study at uni.
This episode is brought to you by Play for Change. Play for Change brings together leadership coaching, expert facilitation, and builds communities. They help craft real connections, spark learning, and turn play into powerful experiments to enable better relationships with yourself and others around you. To find out more, go to playforchange.co.uk. Links are in the show notes below. So you were working full-time and studying?
Yes. Yeah.
Where were the hours?
Somewhere between 1 and 5. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What were you studying at the time?
Advertising and communications, which somehow I did convince them to get some points for being able to work at an ad agency at my age, and doing the work that I did, because I could actually prove that some of the things I was already doing. And again, the storyteller and the, convincing, that I had that in me already. So that was good. But in the end, another sort of slap in the face, because when I had to finish that 4 years, I wrote my thesis. And at the end of that, they actually told me, I had to come in, and they told me, we need to talk to you because did you write this? Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I remember feeling that feeling of loneliness again.
Yeah.
Of, see, there is a difference. I'm not seen. They don't understand.
They don't trust me.
They don't trust me. Not good enough. I need to do better. And I started running again. So I never finished.
You never finished?
No.
At that very last hurdle?
Yes. That meant that I needed to do better. So I started a master course. Several actually. So film studies. I did art history as well. All of them, I did. One I finished, but the film studies one I finished. But the others I didn't. I studied many things just like my dad. Didn't finish them just like my dad. And there was guilt. Yeah. And I had to compensate for that while working harder and harder and more, doing better.
And what were you trying to prove by working harder and harder?
That I was good enough, that I was working towards a better life than my mom and dad had, or my grandma and her family before that. It was something that I couldn't explain at the moment, and I can now, looking back, and thanks to therapy. But it was a drive to do better, and especially also to prove to people that I could. Because the whole not having a degree, and especially coming from a Latin American background, no degree means no future.
Right.
Whereas I dreamt of being able to buy my own house. I dreamt of being able to get married in a fairy tale castle. Did all of that. I bought my first house when I was 21 years old because I made the choice to go to work at 17. And I was able to do that at 21.
And were these all outside influences of going, I need to be validated by the world versus I need to feel this way internally?
I think the acceptance for me translated into feeling less lonely, so feeling seen and feeling accepted by other people. And the fact that they would look at me and per definition see someone that might not go as far. I've heard this from teachers. I've heard this from even some family members. And, rebellion years, she's going to end up somewhere, I don't know, in the supermarket. She's never going to get far because look at what she's done to her life at this point.
Yeah.
Or she's all that extra. So who's gonna love her or be able to cope with her in this way?
And you heard all of these?
Yes. Throughout my entire, adolescence, actually. Yeah.
What happens to take you to where you are today?
Mentors, my fairy godmothers, mostly men, by the way, but I think there were several along the way that took me in, showed me the way. Well, believed in me without question. That saw the potential in me. That saw what I could be. That really saw that superpower. And I've always said, never believed, but I'm the one to always say this also to the people around me. I've always done this, is that if you're able to dream something, you put in the work, you can make it happen. You really have to put in the work, but if you can dream it, you can make it happen. It's actually, one of the core Disney's quotes and beliefs as well. It's like, if you can dream it, you can make it true. I'm the living example of that, and I've done that. And I think that these mentors have actually always seen that in me too, and given me just the right amount of sort of tools to be able to get there. And it was just a sense of, you see me, you believe in me. And
you started being seen.
Yeah.
Which is what you wanted.
Yeah. And the more they did, the more I started showing myself as well. And even in the most recent years, I could say that one of my mentors, he sadly passed away, but one of the last things he said to me, actually face to face, was that I can't wait to see what else you'll bring, and don't hold back. Be all of you. That's what he said.
Bring all of you to everything you do, because
I did.
Good.
And I definitely did. I still do. Yeah. Yeah.
And so at the start of this conversation, you said something along the lines of up until a year ago.
Yeah.
So what happened a year ago?
I think professionally, personally, emotionally, it was the biggest sort of clash of them all. It was, and even though I've been through a lot of things and I've fought really hard, and the whole word fighting to get somewhere, fighting, that was the whole thing, fighting, and to get to a certain point where, and then I will find peace, and then I will find the serenity. And I'm not saying happiness, because I feel very happy with my husband and our cats. But the thing is that even having that, something that a lot of people dream of, having a home of our own, stairs. I wished for stairs when I was growing up. So multiple levels, and being able to say, I'm going upstairs. I never had that growing up. We had a small apartment in Amsterdam. So lucky enough to have all of that, not being able to see that, and still fighting for what? To then last year have sort of a clash of them all. And one of the key people that pushed me into certain directions or gave me the tools was my aunt. She passed away last year, very suddenly. Got diagnosed, I believe it was in June, and then December she was gone. In the midst of all that, our organization was going through a reorg, and I was trying to keep my team together, taking care of my own team. I always take care of others more than myself. Mm-hmm. And then I forgot myself in all of that. And even though all of that was happening in my personal life, I put my team first and not my own well-being. And then at a certain point, I just December came and I took 3 weeks off. I had done that already. I planned my downtime. And I had this whole idea of we're going on vacation, we're going to do this or that. I have this to-do list I never get to. And I did absolutely nothing. I became a couch. And I love that I became a couch. And I'm proud to say that. And it's good. And it was good. And it was time to reflect and to really look back and think of what is this for? Why? And look at what you have. And also in the moment that my aunt passed, the only thing I could think of is that my child that I dream of one day would never get to see her. And I will ensure through storytelling that they will get to know her. Yeah.
And was that a planned break, or was that just a break because there was no option and therefore you had to just stop rather than Kat's to-do list?
There was, so it's a bit of both. There was no more. So I could not go on for longer period of time. I even, during summer, we planned this beautiful trip to Italy, and I shortened that because of work. No one asked me to. I did that because more extra. And then I'll get there. Where?
Get where? What's the end destination? Yeah.
So the 3 weeks were, I really felt I had to. They were reserved for any of the to-dos. But eventually this was the me time that I needed to really say, no, until here, I'm done. It's time for me. This is me. This is what you'll get. And I'm done fixing everyone else. It's
time for you.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about your childhood, growing up, getting to here. And a year ago, something clicked inside you that said, okay, enough. What does the future hold for Kat?
The future holds peace and quiet. No, that's people
that would be amazing.
The people that know me will actually laugh when they hear this because it's not me. It's partially me. I think that there is many layers to us, and maybe for people with backgrounds like mine, there are many more layers, many more colors that make this whole portrait. But no, I like to be focusing on me, on my family, and with my family I mean my husband and our cats. Maybe growing a family. I'd say now I'm definitely ready for that. I was always working towards a safe space, which I felt I didn't have, where financial stability was something. Even though my parents sacrificed so much, I still want to be able to give my children financial stability, to give them, a parent that is there for them, that will understand when they feel lonely, that will understand when they don't understand that they're different. We need to ensure, I'm guessing they'll look pretty much like me. And it's a difficult world out there. Am I going to be healthy? Is my husband going to live until he's 100? I hope so. But all those things did surface during this period. And it was really all cramped into November, December last year, of the whole sort of all of these feelings coming together, the realization, my fantastic shrink, I love him, also asking the right questions in the right moment. But it's really that of the, what am I doing it all for? Who am I doing it all for? And realizing I achieved all that while running for this, whole safe space that I was looking for, and running and fighting and saving everyone else, fixing everyone and everything else constantly, beginning with my mom at 9 years old.
What do you think is the most pivotal question that you have asked yourself or your therapist has asked you that's helped you come out?
What if you were given a chance? Like no society, no, you have to, no responsibilities, none of that. What would you do? What would the first thing be? I would start a family. I would open up a bookshop somewhere where you could, also buy some of my drawings if you'd like. A mini gallery, maybe get some sandwiches. I love to cook, so I would make some sandwiches there, sell them, where my dad could, work if he'd want, or, take care of the baby in the same store, those kinds of things.
Yeah. So bringing back that family unit of connectivity again.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I would do.
And that gave you a real realization.
Exactly.
And what is it that you do? Because we haven't talked about work once, apart from your creative drawing, because you're not in the creative drawing space at the moment.
No, I'm not. I'm the head of diversity, equity, and inclusion at Adevinta. And Adevinta is, we actually have a lot of marketplaces, and one of them in the Netherlands, best known is Marktplaats. And it's such a household brand that pretty much everyone knows it there.
But how do you go from advertising to diversity inclusion?
Yes.
How do you make that switch, and how is that connected?
So from advertising, it actually started with, okay, I can create beautiful campaigns. Back then when I started, I could draw everything by hand, which was that's how advertising started. But people, when I was younger, they already didn't do that anymore. Everything was digitalized. So being able to do that was a special trait, superpower. And then I got to do that, but I've always had an opinion. I've always asked questions. I always read up and wanted to know more. But then I got shushed. No. You make your campaigns. You're not doing the strategy. Okay. How can I do the strategy? So I started looking into that. And I changed my career. And strategy, fine. But then I also would think about certain games I wanted to make or other campaigns on websites and things. And they would say, no, that doesn't work like that. You don't understand tech. Okay.
I'll go and learn tech.
I'll go and do tech. And that's how I actually moved around and learned all the traits that are there to learn in product and tech as well. And in tech terms, I'm a unicorn. So that's when you speak all the sort of the languages, the different trades and all the things. So I that's sort of where I ended up being a director at the same ad agency I started. This was like a full circle. I worked 80 hours a week and then just done at a certain point. I couldn't do that anymore. And so someone from Marktplaats called me and they said, we have a job for you if you'd like. And it was like 3-4 levels below me. Salary was lower. But at that point, I was really aching for some less. So I said yes. First and foremost, because of it being Marktplaats. Everyone in the Netherlands knows this.
Okay.
Like your grandma will use Marktplaats.
Okay.
Maybe not understand it, but she will use it. And for me, that was also the Dutch pride. Like if I say to someone I work at Marktplaats, I go, oh, nice, because they know it. And then the conversation is easier. And it's a brand I'm proud to be part of as well.
Right.
So I started there. And also within this org, which turned out to be way bigger than just Marktplaats. I did many things as well. So moved around there. Most of the years there were, because I've been working there for 6 years now. I worked in product and tech, did a bunch of operations, built my own team. So we were the business operations team at a certain point, and we were leading the central teams, because you have the Netherlands, but there are many other countries connected to us as well. And so to really have this whole bubble of central tech people, they needed this force of engagement, and I had program managers and I had agile coaches in my own team that were constantly ensuring that there was like this whole one team feel, this connection, this bond that made them work better together actually and really feel as one. Which, especially if you're an organization that big, it's super important. And we were just 8 in total, but our entire scope was like around 1,000 people, sometimes more, depending on the situation. And doing that, we learned a lot. We iterated a lot as well, because bumpy roads, but good roads. And we forged new communities, even strong communities, women in tech community, but also we saw people coming together more, from 6 people showing up to certain gatherings that we would organize to eventually a minimum of 60. That in itself was a win. And
so it just kind of evolved and iterated. And
what didn't kind of just evolve? That's my superpower. I connect. And I was able to instill that into my people as well, and be able to, sort of, one of my mentors said that, scale yourself, find a way to scale yourself. And I was able to do that successfully. And then the moment came, so there was a reorganization in Adevinta, and I knew I wanted to do something around culture and connecting again, something that would bring a bit more peace. I already, had that sense as well. And I talked to Nikki, our chief people officer, and it was a conversation of 15 minutes. And she smiled and she said, let me talk to the right people. And here I am. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What an incredible journey.
Yeah.
Is there a question I should have asked you that I haven't asked you?
Maybe what I would say or what I would give as an advice to other people.
Yeah. What would you advise others?
To dare to dream. No matter how hard it may seem or feel, just keep dreaming. You have to be willing to put in the work. It's always a choice every day to put in the work. It's not a given. It doesn't, you have to work hard for things, but dare to dream. And then don't forget to stop and really look around and see what you've done, what you're capable of, because it's already in you. The superpower is in us. Yeah.
So we started this conversation with who is Cat. Let's go round full circle and go, is there anything that you would add or change, adapt from your initial answer?
I said I was a dreamer, a creator. I think, just saying this is me. I'm done proving myself. And I think that's it.
I love that. I'm done proving myself.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your honesty, your candidness, and sharing your story with us.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed that conversation, please share A Class of Their Own podcast with your friends and family. Subscribe, follow, and like. It really helps us continue to grow. Keep being you through connection, learning, and play. You are a class of your own.